that down, let's talk about this, shall we? Could have talked about this yesterday, but there was just so much other stuff that we had to cover. But this past weekend was wild for NCAA college football. In the sense that, I mean, it's always a big story, like when a ranked team gets beat by an unranked team. It doesn't happen terribly often. This weekend, they weren't all ranked against unranked, but there were like 4 major upsets this weekend. We had Tennessee getting beaten by Arkansas. We had Missouri beaten by Texas A&M, although Texas A&M was also ranked, but like ranked number 21 or something like that. You had number 10 Michigan get beat by Washington, unranked Washington. And you had USC get beat by Minnesota. And you had Alabama, that was ranked number 1, beat by, I got to double check this. It can't be right. No, there it is. Vanderbilt. Got beat by Vanderbilt. Which brings up the question, which was the biggest upset? I'm going to tell you which I think was the most consequential upset. All right. Now, you may agree or disagree with me, but I think the most consequential upset, I'm not going to say the biggest upset. We'll get to that in a second. The most consequential upset, I think, was USC losing to Minnesota. And the reason I say that is this. Up to 2 weeks ago, hell, up to this week, a lot of people thought, now that the playoff has been expanded, a lot of people had USC written in as one of those playoff spots, that USC was probably going to get. Even after last week, a lot of people still thought USC was going to get one of those playoff spots. And they laid an egg again. At number 15, they lost to unranked Minnesota. I think it was 24-17. Mm-hmm. So they laid an egg again. And I think this was the most consequential upset because I honestly think their playoff hopes are over. I think they're done.
So you have too many losses now.
Yeah. Well, that, and they simply don't look good. Mm-hmm. I don't see them. They're going to end up ranked 21, 22 next week, if at all.
Maybe. Yeah,
maybe not. If at all. Are they going to climb back high enough to get into the playoff? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I think the most consequential upset was USC losing because that has major ramifications. I mean, Michigan lost again. Yes. I still think Michigan's in the hunt. Tennessee lost. Yes. But at number 4 and the way they've looked, they'll be fine. Tennessee will be in there. But man, without a doubt, the biggest upset for 2 different reasons. It's not one reason. It's for 2 different reasons. Was Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. Not just because they were the number 1 team in the country and getting beat by an unranked team. But they just came off of one of the greatest college football, regular season college football games I'd ever seen. That game the other week between Bama and Georgia, that was one of the craziest, most thrilling, most back and forth, a tale of 2 halves, exciting football games that I had ever seen. I mean, Georgia's coach talking about Bama's quarterback in the postseason say, you got the best running back in the league. Oh, and he also happens to throw the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, he was looking like the guaranteed Heisman winner. They literally, they weren't ranked 1 and 2, but I think most people kind of acknowledge these are the 2 best teams in the country. Playing in the regular season, just a bonkers game, absolutely crazy, and Alabama beats Georgia. And then the next week they lose to Vanderbilt?
Did they actually, get to the game on time? I don't know.
I remember I was watching one of the sports shows. I forget which one it was, but they were talking about, this guy's now the next Nick Saban because they beat Georgia. And one of the callers called in. I mean, it's become viral. Some of you guys might have seen it, but it's like this guy said, now I forget. Look it up for me. I forget the name. I just had it. The name of the new Alabama coach, but he called in and say, you are now forever tainted. Because you'll be the guy who won the big game and lost it against Vanderbilt.
I'm going to say his name wrong, but it looks like Callan DeBoer.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's like, how you go from winning one of the most thrilling games against arguably the best team in football to coming in I mean, I understand there's a letdown, there's a hangover. I get all that. You can't lose to Vanderbilt.
They were 23.5-point favorites.
Yeah, 23, but they were picked to win by 23 and a half points. They were only off by 29 points.
And then I looked at it. Vanderbilt is 0-60 against a top 5 ranked team in history.
That's the other thing.
So,
they
like,
had
they've
never in their
won.
history ever beat a top 5 team.
So
Now look, at the end of the day, Alabama's going to be fine. This isn't like USC where losing this game means their national title hopes are dashed. Not at all. They'll get into the playoff. They'll have a serious run to the title, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be fine. But I just don't understand. I don't get it. I just don't get it, Ryan. How you go in and play the type of game they played the week before against arguably the best team in the country. Some will say it's Texas. I get it. But I'm just saying arguably in Georgia, and then come out and lay. How does this happen?
Well, you said letdown game. It has to be a letdown game. You just beat the best team, and now you're going against this team where you probably think they have no shot in hell to beat us. And then you let basically their quarterback, Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, completed 80% of his passes. So they weren't stopping him. He didn't throw for like 5,000 yards or anybody. He basically marched down the field, and they had the lead the majority of the game. At half, it was 20-7. So it wasn't like a come from behind crazy Hail Mary. It was this team basically beat them the entire game. So they either weren't focused, they weren't prepared at all, and they just caught them off guard maybe. But I mean, that's on the coaching at that point. Like, the players got to execute the plan. Maybe the plan there was no plan for this team because it's such a bad team. We should just beat it. Like, they should just roll over and die because we're Alabama. So, but yeah, people are saying it's the biggest upset maybe ever. Just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. Anyway, guys, question is for you. There was a lot of upsets this past weekend. What to you, let me ask you both the questions. What to you was the most consequential upset? I think it's the USC one, but maybe you think it's one of the others. And second, what was the biggest upset? I don't know that anybody's going to disagree that it was the Alabama game, but whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.